Welcome back, everyone, to True Crime Desk. I'm Richard, and today I'm going to do something a little different. I have my sister here, Maria, and we're going to go over the Alec Baldwin case, which is starting on Tuesday, and I'm going to obviously do some videos on that. So I thought I just would go over some of it with her, and she knows a little bit, but not too much. I thought it'd be kind of interesting, so that's what we're going to do. So we're going to go over that. So let's get started.
How
What's
you
up?
been?
Fine.
Sorry about that.
Then you're going to talk.
I'm actually new to this stuff, so bear with
All
me.
right.
I will do my best to put my input, and see
Yeah.
how it goes.
All right. So basically, the Alec Baldwin case, like I said, is starting on Tuesday, and I'm going to do videos on that. And I did videos in the past about the hearing where he was denied, so he is going to court for sure. And so, what do you know about it? I mean, you know anything about the case? I know you know who Alec Baldwin is, obviously.
Mhm. I actually do. I actually watched the other case, so I was very invested in it. I do have some personal opinions, not that I'm a expert by any means, but I do have some personal opinions. I do think he needs to go to trial. I personally do think he does need to go to trial. Um, I was very not very happy with some of the things I seen at the first trial. So I'm hoping that they do a better job this time.
So, elaborate on what you weren't happy with in the
Well,
first trial.
in the first trial, I felt like they used the girl as a scapegoat. I know a lot of people may not agree with me, but that's my personal opinion. Um, yes, she is the armorer, and she is the one that's supposed to load the bullets into the gun, check them, and everything like that. But from my understanding, from what was said on the stand from other people that had armorers when they were in movies that actually did the job correctly, that the armorer is supposed to show the gun to the I can't remember the guy's
Assistant director,
the
usually.
assistant director. Thank you.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to actually check the gun as well. That's what my understanding was when the trial was going on. Now I could be wrong, but that's what I thought. So having said that, I'm very upset that he got a plea bargain because she loaded the gun, she handed it to him, and he was the last person to look at it, and he willy-nilly looked at it. He even said he didn't check it correctly. And then here we are with a dead lady, and he got a plea bargain. I don't think that's fair.
Well, I think one of the reasons he got the plea bargain is they offered it to him and he took it. I don't know if they offered it to Hannah or Alec, but he jumped all over that. I was surprised at the responsibility that he actually has when it comes to that. I mean, he is responsible for the overall safety when it comes to that, which that's kind of surprised me. I was checking into that, and yeah, he didn't. I don't think he did any jail time at all. This all probation, I think.
Correct.
So I mean,
I
he
mean,
clearly was distraught. He clearly was upset, and he clearly made a
yes,
mistake, and he knows it, and he is showing remorse, which and some of the other two, you haven't seen that. So it has something to do with it as well, I think. So I don't know if it's a good deal or not. It's 18 months max anyway, which is a joke. I think
that
that's a
is
joke anyway. So
that is a joke. I think that is I don't know. It actually makes me kind of sick because that's somebody's life. I mean, 18 months really. Um, I think a lot of people got plea bargains that maybe should not have, but that's another case. But as for Alec, um, he's a pretty cocky guy, and he I don't see how anybody that young and that unexperienced could stand up to him or tell him, oh, it should be done this way, or, here, I need to take the gun, or whatever she may have supposed to have done. I don't see that happening, because in the videos it showed he's pretty bossy, he does things his way. So, things happen when you think you're better than everybody else.
well,
My
I think personally that's why he's responsible in other ways as well, is because he hired her. And there was another armorer that I seen talking, and he was offered to do it, and he didn't. I didn't see in that video why he didn't do it, but I know he offered to do it and he
Mhm.
ended up not doing it. So it could be Alec hiring someone that he knows he can push around, or hiring someone that's cheap. So he has a little bit more responsibility because he was the one that was involved in that as well. But yeah, it's she has to be able to do that. And if she's not able to do that and doesn't feel she's comfortable to do that because she's afraid if she says something to him, she's not working on another set again. That's not a good environment because it's not safe. So
I actually
I
don't,
agree with you. I agree with you. I think
I'm
he
sorry
needs
to
to.
interrupt you. I actually don't think that anybody on that set um, felt they could stand up to him. And that's part of the problem.
Yep.
Yes, he is, was it producer? Is that what it is? Producer.
Yeah.
He's
And the main actor.
actor. And, you know, I just feel like his boots are too big for his feet, so to speak. He thinks that he just does do things his way. His
I don't
way.
think
I
he's
Go
I don't
ahead.
think he's any different than any other actor. I mean, I'm sure they're not all that way, but I'm sure there's a huge majority of them that have an attitude. Everybody's always kissing their butt all the time. And, he's
Yeah,
the big man on campus, but you have to get an armorer that's mature and is going to stop that. And so I don't know whether he hired her because of that or hired her because her daddy's somebody famous,
right.
or whatever it was. But I think because he is a producer that he has that extra responsibility. He has that extra thing against him, like as you say.
Well, I mean, the whole thing's ridiculous because guns are not toys. And there were so many outrageous things going on. And I mean, she wasn't the only one in charge, but once again, he would go off the script, he would do this, do that, things that weren't supposed to be happening. Hurry, 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 hurry. That one video, rushing everybody, hurry, hurry, hurry. It's like you don't hurry anything when you're messing with a gun, when you're dealing with guns and bullets and people's lives. There's no hurry, hurry. Accidents can happen, like we discussed before, with guns that have the bullets in it that have is it the casing? Is that what it's called?
You mean
The
blanks?
wad in it? The
Yeah, it just says
Yes.
a wad. It's
People
basically a
have
blank.
gotten
Basically a blank.
yeah, people have gotten injured and killed by those. So you don't mess around with guns. I mean that's the number one thing when you learn about guns, gun safety. And I don't think that that was in play here.
Yeah,
I
I
really don't.
agree. Yeah, I agree. He was very reckless with it. And then he made excuses. Then he's telling everybody how experienced he is, and then he's playing dumb like he's not experienced. He's going all over the place. I think it was a huge mistake to talk though. I think he can keep his mouth closed.
Oh, he cannot
Uh,
not talk,
that was a big mistake
Yes.
because he's going from both ends of it. He's Mr. Experienced, and then yet he's not experienced, and he's just trying to impress the detectives. You can see in that interview. And then I saw a video yesterday. It was, and she's handing the firearm to him, and he's looking at it, putting it in his holster, and then she hands him another one, and he pulls it out, and he turns it towards her to hand it to her. So he's handed her the butt of the firearm, which is good, but he's pointing it at his stomach as he's doing it, which is it's just so lazy, and it's just dangerous. I mean, I wouldn't even want to be around them. I mean, you go to the range. If you ever been to a shooting range and you're around somebody you think is a little sketchy, you're
Yes.
not there. You leave, and you can tell. It's just like it's
Yes.
dangerous. So it
I
just was
agree.
it was a really unprofessional uh situation, in my opinion.
Well, I think the video that you had, if anybody hasn't seen it yet, Richard put a really awesome video with Alex lawyer talking, trying to get him to not have to go to trial. And I find his lawyer just, I mean, it's almost comical. The stuff that he says to try and get them to say, oh, no, you don't need to go to trial. Um, you can't have it both ways. You either
Right.
know about guns and you did put your finger on the trigger, you didn't pull the trigger, all that stuff, or you don't. I mean, you can't have it both ways. And he's trying to play both sides, and it's just like
Right.
let's throw it up and see what catches.
Yeah, the thing that frustrates me is that when people make mistakes that help somebody did something wrong get away. That I'll explain what I mean is that when they had the firearm, they did all this testing. The FBI did testing where you did half cock, full cock. You pull the hammer back, and you have two different positions. And then they did full cock, and they'd hit it with a mallet, and did all this stuff. So they went beyond that and broke it.
Yes.
They broke the firearm. That's not necessary.
No,
And
it
so
was,
now they don't have the weapon the way it was. Now there's going to have all these excuses and this. I don't understand that. That is so dumb. There was
yeah,
no reason to do that. You can test it without breaking it. Because if you have to break it, then there's an issue. Maybe that's what they're trying to prove, but that's something that's going to help them. It's just, it's
that's
very
right.
foolish.
Because the defense doesn't have, they don't have a gun to let their people test.
Yep,
And
exactly.
that's not a good thing.
Yep. If they were going to do that kind of a test, they should have had a defense team there with them as they were
Correct,
doing that. And they should
correct.
have filmed all of it. And they didn't do that.
I agree. I think that that's going to be a problem,
Yep.
and it'd be really, I mean, heartbreaking if, he got off with a slap on the wrist because, they don't have evidence to look at and to show the jurors and do the testing, and they're going to use that to as far as they can.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yep.
another thing that kind of bothers me too is like there, the other trial when there's certain people talk, like the gentleman that got shot as well, you could see the pain and just the agony of what happened and her passing and everything. And I feel like other people didn't seem so much. And I know everybody grieves differently and handles things differently, but this is a woman that, was trying to help a movie that was getting paid garbage, really. And people walking off the set because of this
Right.
problem, that problem. And this slap on the wrist stuff is just, this kind of stuff needs to stop. If someone does something, they need to have the consequences that is deserved for the crime or for the incident or whatever you want to call it.
I
That's
personally
my
think
opinion.
I personally think that when you have a situation like this and you have a young child, she has a young son, that if they're young, I think that especially 18 months is pathetic. I think in that case, you till he's 18. And if it's 20 years till he's 18, it's 20 years. It's ridiculous. I just think 18 months is a joke. And they say, well, 18 months isn't a joke. I want 18 months. Are you
Well,
kidding?
especially,
I
yeah,
mean,
it's
so she's gonna come back after 18 months. She's gonna walk in the front door. I don't think so. He's just gonna go. Matter of fact, he's starting to trying to do and I don't want this to be a bashing Alec Baldwin because that's not what it's about. But he is trying to do a new reality show with his family and all his kids right in the middle of
oh,
all this.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
gonna be tough. I mean,
I don't think
I'm
it's a
not
good
sure
look.
that's the smartest thing. I mean, maybe it's strategic. And not to say he can't can go on with his life because this was an accident. This
Yep.
was I don't think by any means that he meant to hurt anybody or shoot anybody on purpose. So of course he should be able to go on with his life and not have people like crazy women following him and trying to get on TV and things like that. But I'm not sure the timing is great. But then again, I mean, at one point he was told he wasn't going to be going to trial, that they weren't going to charge him.
Right.
So
Right.
this stuff could have happened, was already in the works, and then here we go. Now they're saying they're taking him to trial and charging him. And so, I mean, it's kind of like a catch-22, really.
I think the advantage we have as viewers, I think, and is that we know the judge because we've seen her before. Same judge. We know how she is. She's tough.
Yeah.
And we know the prosecutor. She's extremely tough, very, very talented. I said in the video, I wouldn't want to go up against her.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I believe that she believes everything she's saying. She believes in what she's doing and she is fighting for Elena. And
I believe she's very passionate about it. I
yeah,
do.
that's the word. And so we know these players. We have the players already. If it was a different situation, we'd think, okay, he's famous, he's gonna get away with it. It's just gonna go, but we know those two players. We know some of the evidence. We know how tough she's gonna be from some of the pretrial stuff as well. So it's gonna be real interesting. And I think they're gonna get him.
Well,
I do.
I do have a question for you. What is your opinion on, do you think it would be a smart move for him to get on the stand? I know that he's the type of person that is probably going to push his lawyers to get on the stand because he thinks he can talk his way out of it. What
Well,
do
I
you
think
think?
I think he will for one reason alone. He's already spoke out. If he didn't say anything, then I wouldn't think he would. If the trial, and of course you have to see how the case is going. That's a big decision. But because he already opened his mouth and he already said things, now he has to get on the stand and fix those things or correct them. If he didn't talk, then he was a possibility. But I think it's 100% chance he's gonna be on the stand. He has to fix those things he said earlier, and there's only one way to do that. And that's with his own mouth. So I
I
think he
mean,
definitely will be on there.
right. For me, I mean, my personal opinion is unless you're a calculated person, which I don't think he is, I think he's kind of a tough person, personality wise. But when he was being interviewed right after the fact, I mean, there was even a picture of him on the phone and he looked so distraught.
Mm-hmm.
That it kind of like burned in my brain seeing that because it almost makes you want to cry because like he was so distraught. It's like, oh my gosh, the reality of oh my gosh, you know.
Sure.
Um, and he's talking to the detectives at the table and explaining, oh, this is how this happens. This is how we did this, that, and the other. Oh no, I never, pulled the trigger. Or I didn't touch this. That. Well, anyways, I think I feel like he was being honest at that time and he didn't think that she had died, and I think that he was
Right.
being honest. Where what changed was after the fact, and he found out she
Yeah.
died. Then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I gotta fix this. His brain might have been going mile a minute. So then, he's being chased by paparazzi, getting out of the car, talking to them, which was, in my opinion, not the smart thing to do.
Yeah.
Because all these different videos going on TV and making that video and explaining, you know, A, B, and C of what happened. Um, all that stuff is going to be used against him in court. So, like the lawyers always say, don't talk to the police. Don't, if you do something wrong, don't talk to the police.
Yeah.
Get a lawyer and keep your mouth shut.
Well, usually the first instinct and the first things that come out of your mouth are generally the truth. So him being upset, he was upset, he was devastated. It was obvious. You could see it on the phone. And you feel bad for him. Um, and then his initial statement when he wasn't worried about his butt, he was worried
Right.
about what happened, and he was just telling the truth. That's you could see the difference. And then all of
Yes.
a sudden, reality and my job and my career and jail, and it starts changing, and you start getting attorneys in your ears.
Yeah.
But he had that really unique situation where he's being followed, and he decides to pull over the side of the road to tell people that he can't talk about the case while he's talking about the case. I'm gonna get out of the car to talk about what I can't talk
Right.
about, which
Right.
makes no sense. And then he treated his wife like garbage. She
Yeah.
walks
Let
over
me
in
show
front of
my
him.
my actual
He walks,
personality that everybody knows I have, you know.
yeah. She
Uh,
walks over in front of him, and he's really rude and disrespectful. She's not your
right.
child. She's your wife. So, uh, you know, that's not a good look. But when it gets right down to it, the way I look at it is this. This is what I'm going to base it off of. I'm going to base it off my experience with firearms, being a gunsmith and all. I'm going to base it off of what I see and what I hear, and not off Alec Baldwin. It's not an Alec Baldwin bashing. It's not an Alec Baldwin cheering sections. That's not what it's going to be. So I don't want it to sound that way. I just call it as I see it. It's my opinion, and it's not about him being a good guy or bad guy. If they talk about his personality and being tough or being, a little arrogant, he's in Hollywood. People are like that. That's all well and good, and they could put that out there. But to me, that's not as big of a deal for me. I mean, maybe if he intimidated her, she should feel like she couldn't say something. That's relevant. But you put all that aside. When she handed him the firearm, if he's the big boss and he's the big man on campus, then it's in your hand. Check it. You're the big man. Check it. So nobody's intimidating him not to check it. So you can't use that excuse when it comes to that. You know what I mean? So he's the big man, and if nobody answers, the answers to no one. Well, when the firearm's in your hand, you answer to no one. Check it. So you can't have it both ways. That's just the way I look at it. I mean, I
It
think
is a very confusing situation, in my opinion, because before this happened, my personal opinion was before this happened, the first thing I said to my husband was, I don't think that he should be in trouble. I don't think that
right.
he did anything wrong because I always thought that in movies there was a person that took care of the guns and they made sure everything was correct and they handed them the gun and they say what was the phrase
The
um
Colt gun.
hold gun
Hmm.
and then they trust that's their job so they trust
Right.
them that it's a cold gun. They take the gun and they proceed to do the scene. Um, but then the more I watched and the more I learned about how it actually works, that there's actually more to it with this. So I guess it'll be really interesting to see what comes out in the trial, what the jurors think. Um, the whole thing's very sad, and I do agree. It's not we're not trying to bash him by any means. It's just I was supposed to explain the different things I've seen on TV since the incident, and how things
Right.
could look from this layman person here. But um, I'm really interested to see how the trial will go because
I
you do have, in my opinion, after watching the first trial with Hannah was Hannah the girl,
yeah.
yeah, that it just there's so many things that happen. And I guess since he was not just an actor, that he was higher up, that's why he's being charged. I guess they're finding they thinking saying he's could be guilty because he hired her or she was hired and he's okayed it, and all the different things that come with being in charge.
I think they're doing both. I think that even if he wasn't the producer, they're going to go after him because he fired the firearm because he had it in his hand. So I think that they're going after him for both. I don't think they're going after him just because if he wasn't a producer, they wouldn't go after him. I think they're going to go after him for both. And you're not in the minority, in my opinion, of people that initially thought he wasn't guilty because there's someone handed to him, he this and that and all that. So the movie said I had somebody say that to me in a comment when it first happened that the firearm industry is different in the movie industry. You're not allowed to check, which is BS. You are allowed to check if you choose. I'm not talking about loading. I'm talking about checking or being there when it's loaded.
Mhm.
And all that's so that's not true. And I had somebody in the last video did one of the comments was when I said it's not prop gun, not it's a real gun, not a prop gun. The comment was prop stands short for property, and that it stands short for property, and that it doesn't stand short for fake gun or whatever. And if that's, I don't think it's true, but even if that was true, because I think it said something like it's stand, it's short for property, and that could be loaded gun, unloaded gun, fake gun, real gun. It could be all those things. Even if that's true, to me personally, it's a catch all. I don't like it. It's dangerous. If I was to hand you a sword and said it's a prop sword, what is a layman going to think? He's going to think it's a fake sword.
Right.
So I don't like a catch-all word like that. I think it's dangerous and you don't use those words. So I don't even like the word prop. It's either a real firearm, non-firearm, it's either a nerd or whatever. So whether that's true or not, I personally don't like that. I don't like that term. It's thrown around all the time, but this whole industry needs to be fixed. It really does.
I agree with you about the prop and the wording of it, because if a person doesn't know anything about guns, because I don't know a lot about guns. I have guns. I bought a few guns since I've moved to Texas, um, because I can buy as much as I want here. But I don't know a lot about guns. I know a little bit, and I need to learn more. So if I were to be told that it's a prop gun, um, then I would have thought it was just you. It's just like a toy almost. It's like you couldn't get hurt with it at all. But that's not the case at all. You
Yeah,
can
but
get hurt, you can get killed, as we see here. So I do agree that they need to change the way they do things.
yeah, and with all that being said, is it me personally, I don't care if it's a piece of plastic or something. I'm still not pointing it at you. Not pointing at you, not pulling the hammer back, not pulling the trigger. It's just basic. So it doesn't
Mhm.
that's all irrelevant. That they like to throw all this stuff up as smoke and mirrors. They want you to look at this hand, you don't see this, that type of thing.
Right.
And they try to hope that people are dumb, I guess. And it's just like it doesn't matter.
Well, there's a lot.
I don't
I
care
was
what term you use. I don't care what it is. I don't care. You don't. I have an airsoft, a John Wick airsoft. It looks just like a real one. It's a full blowback. I use it all the time. I train in the garage and everything. I'm not pointing at anybody. I'm not going to point at somebody because it's an airsoft. You just point it. I'm not doing that. You just don't do that. So, that's, we'll see what happens.
yeah.
It's going to be interesting.
I was very surprised of how many different actors came out and spoke in regards to the way that the industry does it when they've been in movies. How they handle the guns, how they there was different actors that said they actually check their own guns.
That's right.
and that's not really the norm, but they said they did every
They're
time.
checking them. A lot of people think they're not loading them. They're
Correct.
checking them. There's a
Correct.
difference. Yeah. So, because a lot of people say, "Oh, they're not allowed to." That's because yeah, they're not. You're not expected to be an expert. You're not supposed to be an expert. That's why you hire an expert. But you still need to have basic safety. You still need to put it this way. They say that, well, he thought it was this, he thought it was that. If he was doing a scene that what we called him, an S scene, because this is YouTube. He was doing an S scene where he had to put the firearm up to his head and pull the trigger. Do you think he would have checked it? You think he would have checked it a little bit differently if he had to do that?
Right.
I
Well,
think he would have.
I gotta be
And
honest
that,
with you. When I watch people that make movies and they have to use guns and things like what you just said, to unaliven themselves or um, you know, like pointing it at someone else in a movie at their head or whatever, things like that. That always freaks me out just watching it because I know that guns are dangerous. And I often had said before this happened that I wonder how they do that because I don't think I could. I don't think I could be in a movie and point a gun at my head, even if they said it was, a prop or it's a
yeah,
cold gun. I sure as heck would not just do it without checking it myself for sure.
that's what I'm saying. That's a perfect thing. I hope somebody asked him in that sense because, like, there was something in that other video with the guy, his attorney was saying something. Well, if he, because she had mentioned it being a blank with a barrel obstruction that you can be hurt by that or caged by that because
Yes.
it happened to Bruce Lee's son. I can't think of his name, Brandon Lee.
Brandon Lee. Yes. Yes.
So he says, and basically, well, if he would have thought he would knew it was a blank, he wouldn't have pointed it at anybody because if there's a barrel obstruction, you got a blank, you can hurt somebody. Like, he definitely wouldn't have pointed it at him. But you had a dummy round, which looks exactly like a live round when it's in, unless you see the hole in the side and shake it. And so when you're just looking at it from the outside, you just glance, you can't tell. So you felt that was more comfortable to do that when it's looks more like a live round. It didn't make any sense. There
It
was no
didn't make any
logic in
sense.
that.
It made
And
no
so
sense.
that's what I'm saying. So if you have a situation where he has a scene where he has to put it up to his forehead or the side over here or whatever, and he has to hurt himself, unalive himself, as they say, um, do you think he wouldn't have done an extra check? I think he would have done an extra check. And so it's just a disregard for other people's safety. That's
Well,
all there is to it.
and the tragic thing is that it wasn't even a scene that they were taping, it wasn't supposed to. I don't understand why it even happened, to be honest with you, because it wasn't supposed, well, you don't point it at anybody, first of all. I mean, everybody knows that. And it wasn't supposed to have any, why did it have anything in it in the first place? If you're moving your hand to show where it should go. I mean, it makes no sense. The whole
Well,
thing is tragic.
and that's the other thing is that this is a single action revolver, so you have to pull the hammer back and then
Yes.
you pull the trigger. If you're just standing there and you're holding it, I don't have one with me. If you're just standing there and you pull it back like this, your finger almost naturally wants to go inside. It's
Correct.
really the trigger guard on those is generally pretty big, so it's not almost impossible to get it outside the front of it. So you'd maybe have to put your finger above, but it's not natural with that type of firearm. A more modern one, a semi-automatic,
Mhm.
like a Glock or something, maybe a little different. You can put it on top of the slide almost, but your instincts are almost when you pull that hammer back is you're almost as you're holding the gun so you can hold it better is to stick your finger into the trigger guard and up against the trigger.
Correct.
It's almost natural that way. When you're drawing like a cross draw, like he was doing, you're doing it in a fast motion and you're pulling back the hammer, that finger, that dexterity, you might not even realize you're doing it. But when you pull your finger back, your other finger moves as well. It's that same motion. So I
Right.
don't know if I'm explaining it right. When
Yeah.
you pull your this finger moves a little naturally.
It's almost
So
automatic. Yeah.
almost automatic in a sense. So you might not even feel it. And all you have to do is have that hammer back to full cock and have that thing pressed slightly down,
Yep.
and the hammer's going to come down.
Yep.
And that's what happened. I knew that from the very beginning. I
Well,
knew how it happened from the very beginning.
if
I
my
know that.
memory serves me right, when he did the interview, the video on TV, where he talked and explained everything. I think it was that video. Well, if it wasn't, then it was a video that was on TV though. and he was showing how he pulled the gun out like that. When he was showing how he's doing it, the
Right.
figure was right there.
Right.
So, I mean, it's like you just hurt yourself by showing what you did.
Stomach.
Um,
Stomach's making noise. Yeah, I want to see somebody pull that cross draw and a hammer back and see what that finger is. I want to see it. I want to see them do that. And
but once
it's just,
again, why pull the hammer back if you're just supposed to see where the gun's supposed to be in a shot, in a shot for the
I don't know. It's just
movie.
practicing, I guess. I'm not really sure. I'm not, I don't know. It wasn't, he didn't have to be doing that. I mean, he was practicing and they were just kind of setting the shot up. So they weren't even ready. And so
Yeah,
when she got shot, she clearly didn't see it coming. It was
right,
so bad. It went right through her and went into the director. I think it's Souza. I think the director is.
right.
And, it's devastating. It's absolutely devastating what it did to her. It's very sad. Very, very sad. But he made a mistake, in my opinion, and he has to pay the price. That's what happens. That's where society has to be. No matter who you are, what kind of money you have. If you make a mistake, I believe it was a mistake. It was an accident,
Yes,
but you have to do the time, in my opinion.
yeah.
Anything else?
I just hope it's not. I just hope the trial goes by smoothly, and it's not a big show, a big circus. Because I'm
Yeah.
getting tired of that. I'm just, this is not a joke. Someone died, like you said, tragic accident. Definitely did not intend to hurt anybody. And people forget, you know, that he's going through a lot. I mean, he probably has nightmares. Who knows? I mean, he has a family, little ones, I mean, who knows what he's going through? Yes, he's a tough guy, but he's a human. And so I just hope, everything goes smoothly, and I hope that justice is done, whatever that ends up being.
Yeah. The one thing I'm interested to see is if Hannah's going to testify against him. I'm really interested to see if that's going to happen. Yeah, that's a
They're kind of
possibility.
mentioning that she might, in fact, and they were saying that it's not like she had like
No
well, she didn't
immunity.
plea or anything because she's already,
No,
you
she has
know.
no immunity.
So I don't know. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. So I said the judge is tough. When she wouldn't let her out even after she was found guilty. She's tough. So I think that if he is found guilty the same, she's gonna drop the hammer on him.
Yeah.
I don't see her being any more lenient on him. I really
Right.
don't. But
Right.
we'll have to see what happens.
We
But
want things to be fair. I mean, I want things to be fair. Whatever, the jury decides, we have to accept that, and we want it. But I just want it to be fair, because I've been seeing too many trials lately, in my personal opinion, that I haven't been pleased with the outcomes. But a lot of times they take stuff out that the jurors don't see, and
right.
how can they make the right decision when, not that they didn't make a bad decision, wrong decision, but it's hard for me to watch things being taken out that I think that they should probably see, so that they can make a good judgment call, because they have all the facts, not just
Yeah.
some of the facts.
Yeah. Yeah. It can be frustrating sometimes. So anything else? You good?
I think I'm good, and I appreciate you inviting me to be on your channel, and everybody subscribe and watch his channel, because he's doing a great job and very informative. And we're going to be starting a channel together, working something more fun. We're going to do movie reviews, the unintelligent movie reviews. We're going to be having some fun, nothing serious. And we just hope you guys will all follow and subscribe and join us.
Yeah. Gets a plug on my channel. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
There
right,
you
guys,
go.
that's gonna do it for the video. I hope you appreciate it. Hope you got something out of it. And if you did, I appreciate it if you subscribe, hit that thumbs up button and all the good stuff. So until next time, as I always say, stay safe, stay curious, and always remember, mind your surroundings. Bye.
Bye.